Hello and welcome to Frontrunner Motorsport. It's time for the third battle in the greatest touring car driver ever Super Tournament. And I have worries about this one. I know Gabriele Tarquini has just retired, but try and be objective because this is the hardest to pick a winner matchup that we have come across yet. Yes, it is Gabriele Tarquini versus Joachim Winkelhock. The Italian taking on the German. There is a lot in common between these two. They've competed against each other. They were even teammates in Formula 1. Only briefly, but they were teammates. So how did their careers differ and how will you be able to pick a winner? Well, I will round up their careers in brief and you just leave a comment with who you think should be the winner and why. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any of the tournament and go back and watch the first two battles. Who do you think is better between Colin Turkington and Bernd Schneider and Paul Radicic and Yvonne Muller? But let's begin battle 3. Gabriele Tarquini versus Joachim Winkelhock. Let's start with the Italian, who I have done videos about before and even recently. I'm tempted to say go watch that and knock off early, but I do consider myself somewhat professional. So in brief, the long career of the recently retired Gabriele Tarquini. Having failed to find a decent drive in Formula 1 and in fact spending 5 years with teams who had cars made of cottage cheese and were funded mostly by criminals, Tarquini moved on to touring cars, taking his first wins in the Italian Superturismo Championship in an Alfa Romeo in 1993. He moved to the British touring cars for 1994 and beat Joachim Winkelhock amongst others to the title. He spent the next few years bouncing around various series with Alfa Romeo, including winning an international touring car race in 1996, before moving to Honda and back to the British touring cars in 1997. He'd take a win but mainly played a supporting role and spent the next 2 years in the Super Tourenwagen Cup before a final go at the BTCC, all with more wins. He'd moved to the European Touring Car Series in 2001, still with Honda, and take 9 wins on his way to third, before having a year off in 2002, lounging on the beach drinking cocktails. He returned in 2003 with Alfa Romeo, winning the European Championship with 6 wins, and he'd take another 6 wins in 2004, but not win the championship and move to Seat as the World Touring Cars sprang into life. He'd finished second to Yvonne Muller in 2008, won the World Championship in 2009 and came second again in 2010. He'd leave Seat after 2012 and moved back to Honda for 2013, taking a few wins over the next few years but not really having too much success. After a year with Lada in 2016, Tarquini moved to Hyundai and took a year off to get the i30 ready for 2018. He would take 5 wins in 2018 on his way to the championship and has taken 3 wins in the last few years, before retiring in 2021. A legend, no doubt. But is Gabriele Tarquini really better than Joachim Winkelhock, of the famous racing Winkelhock family? Brothers Manfred and Thomas, as well as nephew Marcus, are also all racing drivers, and it was the death of older brother Manfred Winkelhock in 1985 that held up Joachim's career briefly, before he made a return in 1986. He raced in the very early years of the DTM, first in the BMW and later in a Ford Sierra, although he had little success. He also raced in the European and World Touring Cars, but it was in winning the 1988 German Formula 3 Championship and taking a drive in Formula 1 that saw Joachim Winkelhock's touring car career take a quick break. A very quick break, as he only got half a season in Formula 1 at AGS as teammate with Gabriele Tarquini, but Joachim Winkelhock never qualified for a race and returned to DTM. In 1990, Joachim Winkelhock would have his first full season of DTM in a BMW M3, taking a win and finishing the year 6th. He also won the 24 Hours of Nürburgring and would repeat that success in 1991, as well as winning the Nissan Mobile 500 at Wellington, finishing second at Pukekohe and taking another win in DTM. 1992 was much the same, with a win in Pukekohe and another mediocre year in DTM, taking a single win on his way to 8th. But 1993 would see the first big touring car success. He moved to the British touring cars in 1993 with Team Schnitzer, who he had been with for a few years, and joined by another top European driver in Steve Soper. Soper would have the early advantage, but 5 wins in the mid-season saw Winkelhock take the championship. He returned in 1994, but the BMW was nerfed and lacked pace until mid-season, and was off the pace of the winged Alfa Romeo. Winkelhock would take 4 wins and finish 6th overall, but would race in a lot more than the British touring cars in 1994. He would win the short-lived Asia Pacific Championship, finish 2nd in the Spa 24 Hours, 3rd in the Touring Car World Cup, and took podiums in Japan, as well as winning the Macau Gaia race. He didn't return to the BTCC in 1995, instead racing with a Super Tourenwagen Cup, taking 6 wins and the championship, as well as winning the 24 Hours of Spa. 1996, Winkelhock returned to the BTCC for a final time and took 4 wins and 5th in the championship before returning to the Super Tourenwagen Cup for 1997, finishing 2nd in the championship. In the 1998 Super Tourenwagen Cup, Joachim Winkelhock couldn't take a win and finished 6th as his attention turned to Le Mans, not finishing in 1998 with the BMW, but winning in 1999 alongside Pierluigi Martini and Yannick Dalmas. Not that that matters here because it's not touring cars. In 2000, he moved to the new DTM series with Team Holzer in an Opel Astra, the first time he raced something other than a BMW since his AGS Cosworth in Formula 1 back in 1989. He took a win in 2000 at the Norris Ring and finished the championship in 5th, but this was his last competitive season of racing. He stayed with Opel through 2001, 2002 and 2003 before retiring from motorsport at the end of the year. So there are your arguments for Joachim Winkelhock and Gabriele Tarquini. Who do you think is better? Who should advance onto the next round? Leave your comments down below with your vote. Subscribe so you don't miss the next round. Make sure you go back and vote on the first 2 battles. We have Colin Turkington versus Bernd Schneider and Ivan Moller versus Paul Radicic. More content dropping all the time. Thank you for watching and have a good one.